Hey, this is Jacob Evan. Thanks for tuning in. I wanted to start practicing doing some shorter videos, partially because I just want to produce more content and keep more active in a way, and also I wanted to improve my own personal ability. So I don't know how often these will come up, but for now I wanted to talk about a shorter subject, which is the Chandler Halderson trial. I wanted to talk about it in connection with the Torah commands. And essentially, the trial was about this young adult, I think he was about 23, that was accused of murdering both of his parents. And I wanted to bring in some thoughts that I had regarding my understanding of the Torah in connection with this, because, of course, the court system that we have in Western society is not the Torah system, and so I wanted to look at it from that light. So essentially, the way the trial went, at least from what I saw, was that the prosecutor presented every piece of circumstantial evidence possible, basically. Apparently, the whole neighborhood practically had cameras pointed at his house, pointed at the street, and so they knew who was coming and going. They knew when his parents had gotten home, and that basically they never left, at least that's what it appears. And they knew there was, well, at least they'd attempted to luminol the basement, and that showed that there may have been blood cleaned up in the basement, even though luminol is not perfect. And they had the gun that he supposedly used, the SKS, which he supposedly used to kill his father, at least 2 shots. They had cartridge casing in the basement. Anyway, they had all kinds of evidence that supposedly pointed to him, at least circumstantially. And they had all kinds of evidence that supported that he was disposing of the bodies. And at the same time, the defense offered nothing. They didn't offer any real alternative explanation. They didn't offer an alternative story or narrative. They didn't say, well, this is what really went on. Nothing like that. It was basically all they did is just say, well, you don't know for sure that he murdered them. And that is actually true. They did not have any witnesses that came forward to testify that he had murdered them. They had all the other details and all the things that led up to it, all the things that came after it, but they did not have that. And in the Torah, that is a pretty important detail. So in the Torah, as I would see it, he would be accused of Ratzak, and he would be accused of Nakah regarding his parents. He would be accused of, essentially, respectively, that would be intentional manslaughter in this case, or manslaughter or murder, depending on how you treat Ratzak in that case, and Nakah, his parents, smiting his parents. So both of those are commands which are punishable by death in the Torah. So this is kind of important that trying a case like this, that the people would get it right. I mean, it's real skin in the game. Not that it's not real skin in the game regarding observing the Torah in general, but when you're dealing with something like that, obviously you don't get a second chance. So one thing that is emphasized in the Torah is that you're not supposed to put the innocent to death, and part of that is that you're supposed to have 2 or 3 witnesses testify that he did the murder. Now, I would understand that some people say that maybe there are ways that something else can serve as a witness, because there are other cases and other situations in the Torah where something else can replace eyewitness testimony, but I do not see that spoken directly in relationship with these kind of death penalty cases. And so I would think that the defense's argument would hold in a Torah society, in a Torah judicial system, because they don't have witnesses coming forth. They don't know that he actually did the murders, even though, logically speaking, well, there's no real explanation otherwise, other than he and someone else did it. Any other explanation is improbable, and that's absolutely the case. And it's understandable in some sense that the jury convicted him, at least based on what I saw of the trial. But that would not fly in the Torah society because of the witnesses deal. That's pretty emphasized in the Torah. So I think we should consider these sorts of things, these sorts of real world situations where there's maybe more skin in the game or a different level of skin in the game. Because, I mean, this is real stuff, and this kind of stuff, even though we might imagine that in the Torah society everything would be perfect, obviously there's a reason why there are these different laws on how to try people and on not doing certain terrible things. And so if you're going to have to punish someone according to some terrible thing in that society, then we have to do it according to what it says, in my view. So that's my opinion. That's some food for thought. Let me know what you think. Stay focused, be tenacious.